They say weddings bring people together, but what happens when someone you once called family leaves you out of theirs completely? I introduced my best friend to his now wife, only to find out they tied the knot in secret. Now that it's my turn to walk down the aisle, I'm torn. Should I invite them or protect my peace? My name is Emily, and for as long as I can remember, Noah was my person. Not in the romantic way, but in the kind of bond that runs deeper than blood. We met when we were 7, sharing crayons and secrets, and somehow we just never drifted apart. Through every heartbreak, celebration, and late-night phone call, Noah was there, my best friend, my chosen brother. Over the years, I'd seen him fall in and out of love like waves crashing on the shore. I was always his emotional lighthouse, the one he called when things didn't work out or when he needed brutal honesty. I never judged, never interfered. That's just how we were. That's how I thought we'd always be. Last December, my friend Ava flew in from New York to visit India. She and I met during a study abroad program years ago, and we'd kept in touch ever since. Ava is bold, outspoken, full of that chaotic energy that fills a room. I thought it'd be fun to introduce her to my circle, and of course that meant Noah. It was nothing more than a casual hangout over chai and street food. At least that's what I thought. They clicked instantly. I could see the spark between them, but I didn't think much of it. Ava told me later that they were just hanging out, that it was light and fun. Noah didn't say much either, so I stayed in my lane and wished them well. I mean, who was I to get involved? Weeks passed and both of them went silent. Not in a rude way, but in that we're too wrapped up in each other kind of way. I figured they were caught up in the honeymoon phase and didn't want to bother them. Still, something felt off. Why didn't they share anything? Why wasn't I included in the updates, especially when I had been the one who brought them together? Then one day I got a phone call I'll never forget. It was Noah's mom, her voice shaking. She asked if I knew anything about Noah getting married. I froze. Married? I repeated, thinking I'd misheard. She said he had told them he was going on vacation to Bali, only to later send them a message saying he was now a husband. No proposal announcement, no engagement photos, no family, no me. She was devastated. And so was I. I didn't know what to feel. Hurt? Betrayed? Confused? All of the above, honestly. I sat on my bed staring at my phone long after the call ended, trying to process what just happened. Why would Noah, of all people, keep something like this from me? How do you go from being someone's ride or die to a footnote in their life? His mom even asked if I could be there when she confronted him, but I declined. Not because I didn't care, but because I didn't know how to show up for someone who had clearly chosen to shut me out. That night, I kept replaying our years of friendship in my head, our inside jokes, our late-night drives, our silent understanding of each other. All of it suddenly felt like a lie I hadn't realized I'd been telling myself. Why did they hide it? What was so shameful or inconvenient about my presence? For the first time in my life, I felt like Noah wasn't just distant. He had made a decision to erase me from a moment I should have at least known about. And something inside me quietly broke. In the days that followed, I didn't hear a word from Noah or Ava. Not a single message, no call, not even a lazy post-vacation selfie. It was like they had just erased me. The silence at first was deafening, but slowly it turned into something worse: numbness. What do you do when the people you considered closest to you don't just forget you, but actively choose to leave you out? Is it worse to be forgotten or to be deliberately excluded? I didn't know how to process it. Every time I tried to rationalize their choices, I ended up more confused than before. I wasn't expecting to be a bridesmaid or anything extravagant, but a heads up, a phone call, even a, hey, we're thinking about eloping, don't take it personally, that would have been enough. Instead, I had to find out from a crying mother. I kept my distance. If they wanted space, they could have it. Weeks turned into months. I focused on work, therapy, and planning small things that brought me joy. I was slowly beginning to breathe again. Then, just as life was settling into this uneasy rhythm, they resurfaced. It started with a text from Ava. Hey Em, could really use your advice. Things have been tough lately. Then a call from Noah the next day. Can you talk? We had a fight and I need your perspective. I should have ignored it. I should have remembered the weight I was still carrying. But old habits die hard, and I answered. Twice. The first call, I just listened. I didn't say much. I was still too emotionally raw to offer anything meaningful. The second time, I gently brought it up. I was really hurt that you both didn't tell me about the wedding, I said quietly. There was a pause, an awkward, heavy kind of silence that feels like it's pressing on your chest. Then came their version of an apology. They said they didn't mean to hurt me, that it was all just so fast and overwhelming. Ava chimed in that her parents feel self-conscious around Indian families, and they thought it would be easier to keep it intimate and just include her side. Noah added that they wanted privacy, that they weren't trying to push me out. They just didn't know how to handle everything. I nodded along. I accepted their words, but I didn't feel lighter. In fact, their explanation made it worse. So her family's comfort mattered more than including the person who introduced them? And Noah, of all people, didn't know how to tell me? What kind of friendship were we even pretending we had? But I said thank you. I said it's okay. I lied. Then came my 29th birthday. I wasn't expecting fireworks or grand gestures, but I figured they might at least send a text. That morning, I checked my phone. Nothing. By noon, still nothing. But what I did get was a call. They were arguing about food, and they wanted my help again. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. They forgot my birthday but remembered I could be their referee. That's when it hit me. It wasn't just about the wedding. It was about how they saw me, not as someone to celebrate, but someone to use. How many times had I dropped everything for Noah, for Ava? How many times had I put myself last just to keep the peace? How did I end up the emotional dumping ground for a couple who didn't even respect me enough to include me in the most important moment of their lives? So I told them, kindly but clearly, I have my own life now. I can't be your buffer anymore. And then I stepped back, for real this time. Cutting someone off emotionally isn't a single action. It's a process. You don't just hang up a phone and feel free. The silence afterward is loud, echoing through the spaces where laughter and loyalty used to live. After that last call, I didn't block them. I didn't send any dramatic messages. I just stopped. I didn't reach out. I didn't respond. For once, I let the quiet speak for itself. And they stayed quiet too. It was strange at first. For years, Noah had been my emergency contact, the person I'd call when my tire blew out at 2 a.m., or when I had a bad dream that left me shaking. He was the one who knew my favorite snack when I was sad, the only one who could tell by the way I texted hey that something was wrong. And now he was just someone I used to know. Months passed, life continued. I focused on my own healing, my relationship with Ryan, my fiance, and actually building a life I could be proud of. Ryan has this calming energy, the kind that makes you feel like everything's going to be okay, even when it isn't. He doesn't talk over me. He doesn't keep secrets. He doesn't make me feel like a backup option. When we started talking about marriage, it was like opening a window after a long winter. Fresh air, clean light, honesty. I told him everything. About Noah, about Ava, about the wedding in Bali that left a bruise I still carried. He listened. He didn't judge. He simply asked, "Do you still want them in your life?" And for the first time, I had no immediate answer. That question sat with me for days. Do I still want them in my life? Or more importantly, why would I? After everything, after the betrayal, the disregard, the emotional labor I was constantly expected to provide, what was left? Nostalgia. Who benefits from me reopening that door? Then 3 days ago, months since we last spoke, I got a call. First Noah, then Ava, both crying, both apologizing, saying they missed me, saying they'd been selfish, saying they realized what they lost. And a part of me wanted to respond, wanted to believe it was genuine, because that's what old wounds do. They itch. They whisper, maybe this time will be different. But I didn't indulge that voice. I told them I was busy, nothing more. Because I was. I am busy with my life, my peace, my boundaries. Still, after I hung up, that tiny pang of guilt crept in. Why is it that the people who hurt you the most are the ones you feel bad for walking away from? Was I being petty? Was I holding on to pain longer than I should? Or was this just me finally learning what self-respect feels like? I kept asking myself, is forgiveness the same as re-inviting someone back into your life? Or can it just mean letting go, quietly and without fanfare? I'm not angry anymore. Not really, but I'm no longer willing to set myself on fire to keep others warm. Especially not people who chose to exclude me from their joy, only to drag me into their chaos. So when Ryan and I finalized the guest list for our wedding, their names weren't on it. Not scratched out, just never written down to begin with. And for once, that decision didn't come with panic or guilt. It came with peace. Planning a wedding is supposed to be one of the happiest times in your life. That's what everyone says, right? And in many ways, it is. Picking colors, tasting cakes, trying on dresses with my mom, it's all surreal and beautiful. Ryan has been incredible throughout, excited about the little things, even the silly details like napkin colors and dance playlists. I never thought I'd have someone so emotionally present in my life. He makes the future feel safe. But the closer the date gets, the more I feel that quiet ache I thought I had buried. There's something about preparing to say I do that makes you look back at the people who shaped you, the ones who stood by you in your messiest moments, the ones you thought would be there in your happiest ones. I always pictured Noah sitting near the front row, maybe not giving a speech, but smiling, his crooked, knowing smile as I walked down the aisle. He was supposed to be part of this chapter. I had never imagined a future that didn't include him in some form. But how do you include someone who walked out of your life so easily? Every time I open our guest list spreadsheet, my eyes skim past the ends. My chest tightens just for a second. Not out of longing, but because that name is still a ghost in a room I no longer enter. Why is it so hard to let go of people who clearly let go of you? My therapist says it's grief. Not the kind that comes with death, but the kind that comes with detachment. That when someone you love deeply becomes a stranger, you're mourning not just them, but the version of yourself that loved them without question. And she's right. I miss the version of me who believed some friendships could survive anything. But this is the season where I learned that boundaries are loved too. So when people ask why Noah and Ava aren't invited, I just smile and say, we've grown apart. I don't go into detail. I don't need to. It's not about revenge. It's about protecting the joy I've spent so long rebuilding. Because here's the truth. Peace is expensive. And I've paid for mine with years of one-sided loyalty, emotional labor, and silent heartbreak. Ryan reminds me of that every time I doubt myself. He tells me, we're building this life together, not dragging the past into it. And he's right. This wedding isn't just about flowers and music. It's about choosing the people who see me, value me, and walk beside me with intention. So no, I didn't call Noah. I didn't text Ava when we sent out save the dates. And if they find out through social media or a distant cousin, so be it. I've spent too many years being the one who gives second chances, who softens every blow, who explains herself just to keep others comfortable. But not this time. This time, I'm choosing joy without compromise. And if you've ever had to leave someone out of your life, not because you stopped caring, but because they stopped showing up, then maybe you understand what I mean. When is it okay to stop trying? How do you know when silence is healthier than reconciliation? Maybe the answer is simpler than I thought. When it no longer hurts to let go, you've already healed. The morning of our wedding was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels sacred, like the world is holding its breath. I stood by the window of the little heritage villa we'd rented for the weekend, watching the sun stretch across the trees. My dress hung nearby, delicate lace swaying gently in the fan breeze. There was laughter coming from the hallway. My mom, my bridesmaids, a few cousins. Joy was in the air. I should have been nervous. I wasn't. I felt peaceful, whole. It wasn't until I sat alone with my makeup half done, bouquet resting on the vanity, that I allowed myself to think of them, Noah and Ava. For the first time in months, the thought didn't sting. It just floated in, then drifted out again. Like an old song I didn't need to sing anymore. I didn't tell Ryan I was thinking about them. I didn't need to. Some things don't need to be said aloud to be understood. Sometimes I wonder, if they had invited me, would I have gone? If they had said, we want you there, Would it have changed anything? Or was this fracture always waiting to happen? Who are the people in our lives that stay, and who are the ones we outgrow? Those questions lingered as I walked down the aisle, arm in arm with my father, the scent of marigolds and jasmine clinging to the warm evening air. I saw Ryan waiting for me, his eyes full of everything I'd been missing in all those half-friendships and quiet betrayals. Patience, kindness, depth. And in that moment, I realized something powerful. I wasn't missing anyone. I wasn't looking around hoping to catch a familiar face in the crowd. I wasn't bracing myself for awkward small talk or old emotional baggage dressed up as reunion. I was fully here, fully present, with people who had chosen to show up, not just for the wedding, but for me. That's the thing about growing. Sometimes it requires letting go of the people who loved an older version of you, the version who overextended herself, the one who forgave too quickly, the one who mistook being needed for being valued. And maybe that's why I didn't send Noah and Ava an invitation. Not out of spite, not because I wanted to prove a point, but because this day, this life is no longer for people who made me feel small in moments that should have been big. Is it selfish to want a wedding day free from tension? Is it wrong to protect your peace, even if it means closing a door that once felt like home? I don't think so. Because the truth is, I did love them. I still hold love for what we had. But that version of us doesn't exist anymore. And clinging to it would only dishonor the version of me that worked so hard to heal. When the vows were spoken and the confetti floated through the air like falling petals, I wasn't thinking about who wasn't there. I was thinking about how far I'd come, how proud I was to have chosen myself finally. And maybe that's what this entire journey was about. Not just planning a wedding, but learning how to stop apologizing for outgrowing the people who couldn't grow with me. How would you feel if the people you once called family left you out of the most important day of their lives, then came back only when they needed something? Do you think Emily was right to protect her peace, or should she have let them back in? Her heart still aches from the silence they left behind. If you believe she made the right choice, please like this video and subscribe to the channel so she knows she's not alone. Your support means everything. Tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were in Emily's shoes?